Imagine standing beneath a mountain of stone and mud brick, knowing that a single misstep means instant termination. The air is thick with the scent of heat-baked earth and the suffocating tension of 20,000 besieged souls. For 6 days, a silent, ghostly army has circled the perimeter of your fortress. They do not launch arrows. They do not build siege ramps. They simply march in absolute, maddening silence, accompanied only by the rhythmic, dusty thud of thousands of sandals. This was the psychological warfare facing the inhabitants of Jericho, an oasis superpower engineered to defy the ancient world. To any military strategist of the late Bronze Age, breaching this city was not just difficult, it was a physical impossibility. At the heart of Jericho's legendary status was a masterclass in ancient military engineering, a formidable dual-layered defensive system built upon a massive, sloping embankment. An attacking army would first encounter a towering 15-foot stone retaining wall. If they somehow managed to scale that obstacle, they were met with a steep, exposed incline leading up to a second, even more massive mud brick wall standing 20 feet high and 6 feet thick. It was designed to exhaust, trap, and isolate invaders, making the city a virtually impenetrable shield guarding the gateway to the Promised Land. Yet, the ancient texts of the Book of Joshua record a strategy that defied every known rule of engagement. The Israelite forces were commanded to abandon conventional warfare entirely. Instead, they enacted a bizarre, highly choreographed ritual, marching around the colossal walls once a day for 6 consecutive days, led by 7 priests carrying ceremonial ram's horns. On the fateful 7th day, the atmosphere shifted. The silence that had tortured the city's defenders for a week was suddenly shattered. The priests gave a prolonged blast on the horns. The entire army unleashed a massive, coordinated shout, and according to the ancient narrative, the engineered walls collapsed flat into the earth. For centuries, secular historians dismissed this account as a grand poetic exaggeration, a symbolic myth designed to validate the cultural identity of a nomadic people. But as modern researchers began to dig into the desert sands, they uncovered a startling reality. The legendary fortress did fall, and the physical clues left behind in the strata challenge everything we thought we knew about the boundary between ancient text and historical fact. The secrets of the ancient world rarely stay buried forever, but when they do surface, they tend to rewrite history entirely. In the early 20th century, the sun-scorched mound of Tel Es Sultan, the undisputed site of ancient Jericho, became the center of a profound scientific investigation. Armed with trowels, brushes, and a desire to separate fact from folklore, British archaeologist John Garstang began excavating the site in the 1930s. What his team uncovered beneath millennia of desert dust sent shockwaves through the academic community. A massive structural failure that perfectly mirrored the ancient biblical descriptions. Garstang discovered that the outer defensive walls had not been pushed inward by battering rams or siege engines. Instead, the colossal mud brick structures had collapsed outward, tumbling down the steep embankment. 2 decades later, Dame Kathleen Kenyon arrived at the site, introducing advanced, meticulous stratigraphical excavation techniques to verify these extraordinary claims. Her findings confirmed a reality that seemed almost impossible. When the upper mud brick walls collapsed outward, the cascading debris accumulated at the base of the lower stone retaining wall. This structural failure inadvertently created a perfect, natural ramp of fallen earth and stone for an invading force stationed at the base of the hill. The obstacle had vanished, replaced by a literal pathway leading straight up and into the heart of the fortress. But Kenyon's trench digs revealed an even more baffling anomaly preserved within the deep layers of ash and soil. Strewn across the ruined domestic quarters were dozens of large clay storage jars, completely filled to the brim with charred grain. In the ancient Near East, grain was the ultimate currency of survival. Standard military doctrine dictating the siege of a walled city relied on systemic isolation, surrounding the perimeter to slowly deplete the inhabitants' food supplies over months or even years until capitulation was inevitable. Yet, the presence of untouched, full jars of grain proved 2 critical historical facts. First, the city did not fall due to a lengthy starvation siege. The breach occurred rapidly, mere days after the spring harvest when the storehouses were at their peak capacity. Second, immediately following the structural collapse, a catastrophic conflagration swept through Jericho, preserving the unconsumed food supplies beneath a thick blanket of carbonized ash. The dirt had preserved a precise timeline: a sudden, catastrophic structural failure, a swift entry, and a conclusive fire, leaving behind a physical enigma that science was now forced to explain. To understand how an impregnable fortress could be reduced to rubble in a matter of seconds, one must look beyond the human elements of the story and examine the volatile anatomy of the Earth itself. Jericho's ultimate vulnerability was not a flaw in its engineering, but a consequence of its geography. The ancient city was constructed directly along the Jordan Rift Valley, a deeply troubled geological fracture zone where the African and Arabian tectonic plates grind relentlessly past one another. This active branch of the Dead Sea Fault system is a subterranean crucible, historically recognized as one of the most seismically unstable regions in the entire Middle East. This deep earth instability sheds immediate light on an earlier, equally mysterious event recorded in the historical narrative: the sudden drying of the Jordan River, which supposedly allowed the advancing forces to cross on dry land. While long considered a purely supernatural phenomenon, modern seismologists and historical records offer a striking natural explanation. In the years 1184, 1267, and as recently as 1927, powerful earthquakes rocked this exact rift valley. The resulting severe ground tremors triggered massive mudslides along the steep clay cliffs of the riverbanks, completely damming the Jordan River and halting its flow for nearly 24 hours. The natural mechanics of the Earth had already demonstrated a recurring pattern of altering the landscape overnight. When applied to the collapse of the city itself, the geological evidence becomes overwhelming. A localized earthquake measuring between 6.0 and 6.5 on the Richter scale is the only natural force capable of generating the precise destruction documented by archaeologists. As the seismic shock waves tore through the bedrock, they would have triggered a phenomenon known as soil liquefaction, causing the loose, sandy subsoil beneath the heavy fortifications to suddenly behave like a liquid under the immense weight of the upper defenses. The unstable foundation gave way. This violent shifting of the earth explains the unique physics of the disaster. The lower stone retaining walls held firm, while the heavy mud brick structures sitting atop them lost all structural integrity and slid outward down the slope. The supreme defensive shield of Jericho was systematically undone, not by military genius, but by a catastrophic release of tectonic pressure from the deep abyss below. If the destruction of Jericho can be attributed to the violent shifting of tectonic plates, a fascinating historical paradox remains. What was the true function of the ancient ram's horns and the collective shout of the masses? A popular modern hypothesis frequently circulated online suggests the concept of acoustic resonance, the theory that the rhythmic blasting of the instruments and the synchronized voices of thousands of individuals hit the exact resonant frequency of the mud brick fortifications, shattering them much like a high-pitched note shatters glass. However, when subjected to the cold equations of physics, this theory dissolves. To compromise walls that were 6 feet thick and constructed from dense, baked earth, an acoustic wave would require an amount of decibel energy that is physically impossible for human vocal cords and primitive wind instruments to generate, even when amplified by an entire army. A far more compelling explanation lies within the profound psychological and sensory experiences of the ancient world. Seismologists note that immediately preceding a major tectonic rupture, the intense tearing and friction of rock deep within the fault lines produces a phenomenon known as infrasound. While largely below the threshold of human hearing, these massive subterranean vibrations manifest as a deep, primal groan, a low-frequency acoustic rumble that reverberates through the valley. To those standing upon the surface, this terrifying sound, vibrating through the very soles of their feet, would easily be perceived as a deafening, supernatural roar, or perhaps a cosmic horn echoing from the belly of the earth. This introduces a brilliant tactical dimension to the historical narrative.
The 7 days of silent marching may have been an exercise in profound psychological warfare, designed to drain the nerves of the defenders within the sealed fortress.
But on the final day, the timing became absolute. Whether by acute observation of environmental warning signs, such as agitated wildlife or minor precursor tremors, or through a moment of immaculate synchronicity, the command to shout was issued. The human voices and the piercing blasts of the ram's horns fused perfectly with the sudden, catastrophic roar of the awakening fault line. To the terrified onlookers, the causal link was instantaneous. The air filled with the sound of trumpets. The earth answered with a violent convulsion, and the invincible walls bowed to the power of the sound. Ultimately, the broken stones of Tel Es Sultan leave us at a profound crossroads where archaeology, geology, and ancient literature converge. Science has not diminished the narrative of Jericho. Rather, it has provided a tangible, physical canvas for it. We now know with historical certainty that these formidable walls did exist, that they collapsed outward into a natural ramp, and that a sudden, terrifying force brought an abrupt end to an untouchable Bronze Age superpower. This revelation redefines our understanding of ancient mysteries, illustrating that the boundary between historical fact and ancient text is far more fluid than previously imagined. When we strip away centuries of skepticism, we find that nature and narrative are often speaking the exact same language. The true miracle of Jericho does not require a suspension of the laws of physics. Instead, it rests entirely on the concept of immaculate, cosmic timing.
To a geologist, the event is a textbook demonstration of the devastating power of the Dead Sea Fault system, perfectly executed by natural mechanics.
To a person of faith, the fact that the earth convulsed at the exact day, the exact hour, and the exact second an army raised its collective voice is the ultimate signature of divine orchestration. Whether you view this historical turning point through the lens of pure tectonic coincidence or supernatural intervention, the conclusion remains undeniably powerful. The earth itself bore witness to the event. The stones remembered, the soil preserved the timeline, and thousands of years later, humanity is still captivated by the echoes of that fateful day.
What do you think? Was the fall of this ancient superpower a freak accident of geographical positioning, or a masterfully timed intervention? Share your perspectives in the comments below. If you want to continue journeying into the fascinating space where science uncovers the truths of ancient history, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Until our next investigation, keep questioning the past, and thank you for watching.